This is the time of year when most Unitarian Universalist congregations run their membership pledge drives. Since every UU congregation is entirely self-supported, the pledge drive, or canvas, is part of figuring out how much money we'll have in the coming church year to pay staff, cover building costs, run programs, and all the other things we need to serve our mission. There's certainly a dollar amount goal we want to reach in order to do that. But just as important is the goal that we want every member to pledge so that nobody is left out. Now, a UU tradition of sorts is for the minister, as part of the canvas, to preach a sermon on the amount that encourages members to pledge with wholehearted generosity. Calling it a sermon on the amount is a religious pun, of course, but you won't actually hear any dollar amount named when it comes to your pledge. That's because we know that generosity is relative to one's circumstances. An elderly member on a fixed income who can only pledge modestly is more generous than a professional couple who pledge a larger amount they can easily afford. So this year's canvas calls for wholehearted generosity because it's a critical part of moving our congregational home to a much bigger property. You'll hear more about how we got to this point a little later in the service, with this particular chapter of our story going back 9 years. Yes, it was in February 2015 that a pipe froze and burst in the kitchen, flooding this sanctuary and most of the rest of the building. That required remediation and significant renovation, but it also showed us, though not for the first time, that we really don't have the space here for the congregation we want to be, that we know we can be. Today, we're going to reflect on this and all that is to come as we begin a new chapter of possibilities for the UU Fellowship of the Peninsula. We held a membership orientation yesterday, the program we call Pathway to Membership. We cover a little UU history and our UUFP history. We invite people to share their spiritual journeys and their religious orientations. We describe a range of UUFP programs. We talk about our covenant, and we explain what it means to be a member here. We run this 2 or 3 times a year, and at the end of the orientation, participants are invited, if they are ready to join, to sign the membership book. At yesterday's orientation, 5 people did just that, and another this morning, becoming our newest members, Lisa, Kayla, Audrey, Emily, Josh, and Rachel. Welcome. Now ask these or any other 6 members their reasons for joining, and you'll get 6 different answers. Well, at least 6 different answers. For some, it's a particular program that draws them here, maybe Earth Rising or the choir or Children's RE. For some, it's the feeling of belonging, the warm welcome, the sense of community, even the potlucks. For some, it's wanting to be part of something important, to share liberal religious values, to change the world for the better. Whatever it is, each of us has our own reason for being here, for wanting to be part of this congregation. Now, I came across this bookmark recently, having placed it some time ago in a book that I must have put back on the shelf with the bookmark still in it. I needed to look something up in that book, and it's now back on the shelf, but I kept the bookmark out so that I could talk about it this morning. And that's because this bookmark gives 10 good reasons for joining a Unitarian Universalist congregation. It was printed almost 30 years ago, but the 10 reasons it gives are still good. Let me read you a few of them. Because here we encourage each other to be our true selves. Because here we nurture our children's enthusiasms and encourage their questions. Because here we join our strength with others to create a more just society. These are certainly good reasons, and the other 7 I didn't read, and I've heard each of them named by people at our membership orientations again and again over the years. But here's the thing. While they are all good reasons to come to a UU congregation and participate in programs and even be on a committee, I'm not sure they truly require somebody to actually join the congregation, to become a member. After all, almost everything we do is open to non-members. Sunday mornings are not restricted to members, and our programs, from fellowship circles and justice teams to movie nights and soup socials, are open to everyone who wants to attend. We never put someone at the door checking IDs to make sure that people are members before letting them in. Sure, you need to be a member to vote or serve in elected or leadership positions, but that's about it. So why join if you can do almost everything here without being a member? The real, though usually implicit, reason for becoming a member is to be part of ensuring that there is a here for people to come to. The real reason for joining a UU congregation is to help make sure that there continues to be a congregation that offers spiritual growth and community and purpose to whoever needs that. You don't need to be a member to do almost anything here, but it is only thanks to our members that this is a place where almost anything is possible. Becoming a member of the congregation means making an explicit commitment to take responsibility for the health and well-being of the congregation through our gifts of time, talent, and treasure. We rely on our members to show up and help run our programs, from providing music and running the technology and services to teaching RE classes and organizing justice activities. Joanne and I can't do it all by ourselves. So much of what we do wouldn't be possible if our members weren't willing to give their time to help make it happen. We also rely on our members to bring their skills and abilities to the different demands of congregational life. Nowhere have I seen this more evident than on the planning committee, which is doing incredible work to prepare us for the purchase of 326 Tabbs Lane. We are so fortunate to have members with expertise in real estate and architecture and stormwater and other areas, as you've heard at the forum this month, so that we can make the most informed decisions about our purchase. And we rely on our members to contribute financially so that we can pay for everything we need and everything we need to do as a thriving, growing congregation. Every UU congregation is self-supported, part of our tradition going back more than 4 centuries. We don't have bishops who can send us some money if we need it, but neither do we have to explain ourselves or be told what to do by anybody overseeing us. We make our own decisions, we elect our own leaders, and we fund our own budget. That's why at this time of year we run a canvass, when we ask each and every member, as well as our non-member supporters, how much money they pledge to contribute during the next church year. That way, we know how much we'll be able to afford in the next budget. Yes, there are some fundraisers like the auction and the yard sale, but 99% of our budget comes from pledges. So when you receive your pledge card this year, or when one of our dedicated canvassers asks to meet with you, please think carefully and deeply about what you plan to pledge for the coming church year. Please pledge with wholehearted generosity. For we, the members who call this congregation our religious home, who want this special place to be open to everyone who seeks us and everyone who needs us, We rely on one another as members to live into our commitment to take responsibility for the health and well-being of this congregation through our gifts of time, talent, and treasure. I'm going to ask you some wondering questions now, and I'll give you a little time after each to reflect. Jeffrey will put each question on the screen as I read it. I wonder what you take away from our UUFP story of the last 9 years. I wonder how you would name your own reason for coming to the UUFP. I wonder what wholehearted generosity means to you. I wonder why you support this congregation. Today's activity is a responsive reading by UU Minister John Wolfe, who during his long tenure as senior minister led All Souls Unitarian in Tulsa, Oklahoma, to become the largest UU congregation in the country. Jeffrey will put the words on the screen, and I'll read the words in Roman type if you'll all respond by reading the words in italic type together. There is only one reason for joining a Unitarian Universalist congregation, and that is to support it. We support it because
it points to what is best and noblest in human life.
We support this congregation because
it is open to people of every race, creed, color, place of origin, gender identity, and sexual orientation.
We support this congregation because
it is a place where children learn that religion is joy, comfort, gratitude, and love.
We support this congregation because
it is a place where walls between people are torn down rather than built up.
We support this congregation because
it is more concerned with human relationships than with dogmas and doctrines.
We support this congregation because
it searches for the holy and the good rather than dwelling on corruption and depravity.
We support this congregation because
it stands against superstition and fear.
We support this congregation because
it calls no one a sinner, yet knows how deep is the struggle in each person's heart and how great is the hunger for what is good.
We support this congregation because
it calls us to worship what is truly worthy of our sacrifice.
There is only one reason for joining a Unitarian Universalist congregation,
and that is to support it.
As I was preparing for this service, I was pretty shocked to realize that it's been 9 years since a frozen pipe burst in the kitchen, flooding this sanctuary and the rest of the building. I don't know where those 9 years have gone. I think it's something to do with having a 12-year-old. As Amy told us, this congregation has spent a lot of time and energy over those 9 years figuring out who we are, where we are going, and what we need to do to get there. And a lot has happened in only the last 3 months. Our offer to buy 326 Tabbs Lane was accepted just after Thanksgiving. We'll soon be wrapping up all of our inspections and assessments of the property. Then there'll be a congregational vote in April. And if all goes well, we'll close on the purchase in May. Then it will be ours to make it a place that serves our mission, where we can live out our vision, where we can grow beloved community. This is a huge step for our congregation. As I realized yet again at the UUFP history part of yesterday's membership orientation, this fellowship has never actually chosen to move before now. After all, we lost our first building, a former synagogue on Eaton Street, to the Hampton Redevelopment Corporation. And our second building, a church on Briarfield Road, was destroyed by a fire. This is the first time we're moving because we've decided for ourselves to move. One of the reasons we're excited about 326 Tabbs Lane is because it offers us so many possibilities. It's about 2.5 times the size of our current buildings combined, with a much larger sanctuary, rooms for programs and age-based RE classes, including space for our youth that they can make their own, and a huge hall that can be used for social gatherings, fundraisers, movies, concerts, and the Port Winter Shelter. For sure, there's a lot of work we need to do to make it our space. Sandy showed you a rendering of a possible new entryway and gathering area designed by Roger Guernsey, for example. But we have our vision to guide us in making 326 Tabbs Lane a place where we can serve our mission and grow beloved community. Speaking of growing, we've been on this 9-year journey because we knew we'd grow if we had more room for everyone who wanted to be here, particularly families with children. 326 Tabbs Lane has more room, as I said, a lot more room than we do here. So we know that we will grow. Actually, we've already made a start on that. Since mid-2022, 32 people have joined as new members, including 5 at yesterday's membership orientation and 1 more today. Sandy said we're projecting 10 members a year. That's actually 20 new members each year, doubling our projection for our new building. So this is great preparation for moving into 326 Tabbs Lane because a bigger property will cost us more to run. It will take more of our time, talent, and treasure from all of us. So our church budget will need to grow too. But that also opens up new possibilities in terms of the programs we can offer and the partnerships we can support as part of our mission. That's why this year's canvas is so critical. Sometime this calendar year, almost certainly after the new church year has begun in July, we'll be moving 1.5 miles up Warwick Boulevard from here to our new property. Since this spring's pledge drive pays for next church year's budget, this pledge drive will set us up for success at 326 Tabbs Lane to continue our momentum toward bigger and better things. And it's why the theme for this year's canvas, as Marty said, is a new chapter of possibilities. When we ran our capital campaign in 2021, we made the point that with our decision to move to a bigger property, we were starting a new chapter in the story of the UUFP. And now we know where we're moving. We also know that this is a new chapter full of possibilities. You only need to visit 326 Tabbs Lane to imagine the possibilities that our wholehearted generosity in this pledge drive will offer us. And if you haven't had a chance to visit it yet, as Sandy said, there is a visit scheduled for this afternoon. When you're there, imagine classrooms full of children learning about Unitarian Universalism and how this faith helps us to become good people. Space that our youth can make their own as they navigate the trials of adolescence. Imagine programs of spiritual care for adults of all ages too, as they face their own challenges. Think of renowned speakers at the forum and guest musicians and services shared online so that people near and far can learn and be inspired. Imagine thriving fellowship circles and other small group programs that include people from the wider community. An industrial kitchen where we can make our own food for celebrations and conferences, where meals can be prepared when we host the Port Winter Shelter ourselves. Imagine a community hub for organizing and activism, to share and nurture our liberally religious values in the wider world. Picnics under the trees, a labyrinth and a fire pit, a modern, accessible playground. Imagine social activities and workshops and festivals and spiritual growth, all possibilities that we can bring to life, starting with our pledges in this canvas. Let's get started on this new chapter of possibilities. May it be so.